Overall rating. Rolls-Royce does appear to have a bit of an obsession with the supernatural, at least judging by its back catalogue of cars including the Wraith, Phantom, Spirit, and Shadow. However, the most famous of them all was the Silver Ghost of 1906, a name used to promote that car's ethereal quietness. The current Rolls-Royce Ghost is a far cry from the original, but part of the reason you might be considering buying one is the promise of unparalleled serenity on the move, from behind the wheel, or behind your driver. Or, perhaps you wish to bask in the status of traveling in arguably the most famous marque in motoring, with that iconic Spirit of Ecstasy standing tall atop of the front grille. Either way, the Ghost is perceived as one of the best luxury cars you can buy. But is it? Is it actually better than a Mercedes-Benz S-Class, BMW 7 Series or Bentley Flying Spur? Read on and we'll let you know. Driving. While other luxury cars are available with various engine options including hybrids and diesels, the Ghost has but one whacking great 6.6-liter twin-turbocharged V12 petrol with 563 bhp or 603 bhp for the black badge model. And setting aside concerns about the environment or fuel consumption for just a moment, it's delightful. Even starting it is a pleasure, as it whirs over smoothly on the starter, before firing and settling into a perfectly steady idle. Select drive, using the steering column-mounted gear selector, and in general driving it has what Rolls-Royce used to describe coyly as adequate power, meaning a solid wall-off oomph to ease the car along without it feeling in the least bit strained. Don't extrapolate from the lack of out-and-out pace, though. Bury your foot deep into the lush pile of the lamb's wool rug, and that splendid lady perched on the grille tilts skywards as the bonnet rises with the force of acceleration. Or, more simply put, the Ghost takes off at a hell of a lick, as described by its 0 to 62 miles per hour of just 4.9 seconds. Only when you try to achieve that rampant acceleration and stretch the V12 past 4,000 revolutions per minute do you notice its muted growl. The rest of the time, including when you're sitting at a steady 70 miles per hour cruise on the motorway, it's notable only by its absence of noise. The 8-speed automatic gearbox blurs the transition between one gear and the next, and will even use GPS to select the appropriate gear for approaching bends. Other than an occasional thud, should you catch it out on and off the throttle and stop-start traffic, it's exemplary. It's a shame that the ride isn't better. For example, drive along a lightly rippled road, or one with wavy undulations, and the way the Ghost floats along is both comforting and comfortable. Yet, throw in a sharp-edged ridge, or deeply excavated pothole, and it clobbers over it in an unruly fashion. This probably has much to do with the standard run-flat tires, but, either way, an S-Class on the smaller of its wheel options, or even a 7 Series, can be less jarring. Around corners, the Ghost feels every bit its 2.5 tons. Comparatively, an S-Class or 7 Series feels nimbler and sharper through turns, while the Ghost is more ponderous and leans acutely if you attempt to press on. The light steering is at least direct and accurate, so be measured with your corner entry speeds, and it's an easy car to place. The steering does suffer from a lot of kickback and vibration over rough surfaces, something you might wish for in a sports car but not in a limousine. Yet, despite appearing to have the aerodynamics of a small bungalow, the Ghost does an excellent job of isolating you from wind noise on the motorway, along with tire noise, too. Interior layout. If nostalgic design underwired by modern technology sounds appealing, then you'll adore the Ghost's interior. It's both classic and opulent, with beautiful pastiche Art Deco instruments, along with rotary heater controls, bullseye air vents and thin-rimmed steering wheel that could all have been lifted straight from a late 1970s Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow too. Then, of course, there are the highly polished, rich-grained wood veneers and expertly stitched, soft Lavellino leathers. There is nothing in the class, not even the Bentley Flying Spur, that looks as exquisite. However, there are cars, the Bentley being one, that possess a little more material integrity when you start prodding. They say all that glitters isn't gold, and all that's silver in the Ghost isn't metal. Most of the chromed switches and surfaces are in fact plastic, including those celebrated bullseye vents and the strip of faux aluminium trim surrounding them on the dashboard. It's disappointing in a car costing this much. In tight spots, you become acutely aware of the Ghost's size, even the standard wheelbase model, but it is relatively easy to see out of. Plus, you get parking sensors and a reversing camera to help with monitoring its extremities. Part of the reason for the decent visibility is a high-up driving position that's on a par with many SUVs. And as well as being elevated, the driver's seat is arguably one of the most comfortable of any current car. It's wide, well-shaped and softly cushioned like an old Chesterfield, but with underlying support over a long journey. Multi-way electrical adjustment makes it highly tunable, too. Once ensconced, You'll find all the buttons easy to reach. The iDrive-based infotainment system, with its rotary controller and shortcut buttons, is slick and easy to operate on the move, more so than the S-Class's command system or the Flying Spur's touchscreen. When the screen is not required, you can press a button and a retractable slab of veneer drops down to hide it. Space practicality. In the front, Royce's head and leg room to spare, while the generous width of the interior and enormous center armrest mean driver and passenger can flex their elbows without fear of interference. Moving rearwards and those unusual suicide rear hinged doors make entry and egress very easy, and even the standard wheelbase model feels spacious enough for two tall adults to sit comfortably. 3 is possible, but the sculpted shape of the electrically adjustable outer seats means the person in the middle would feel robbed of headroom and miffed that they drew the short straw. If you spend most of your time sitting in the rear, then think about the extended wheelbase model. This allows you to not only sit comfortably but to stretch out and truly lounge. Speaking of which, if it's a car for you to be chauffeured in, specify the lounge seats that give you 2 individual chairs with a central control panel running between them. The boot offers a good square space with room for a couple of large suitcases, but it's not overly generous considering the size of the Ghost and Royce no option to extend its volume by folding down the rear seats. Cost verdict. While the Ghost is the entry level to the Rolls-Royce range, we doubt those looking to buy one will be sweating over food rations. Costing well in excess of £200,000, it's expensive even when compared with other exclusive models such as the Mercedes-Benz S65, BMW M760 and Bentley Flying Spur, but, for some, that's part of the appeal. And as with all high-end luxury cars, most folk tend to buy new and tailor their car unless the savings are tempting enough to buy used, so when it comes to trading in, you'll lose a shed load on the resale value. Fuel costs will be high. We manage sub 20 miles per gallon only on a mix of roads, as well insurance and servicing, but that's par for the course for anything in this bracket. It's not even that well equipped, so you have to pay extra for things that you could reasonably expect as standard, such as adaptive cruise control. Of course, of more interest than adding gizmos, most Rolls-Royce buyers get caught up in the vast array of bespoke options you can choose from, everything from special exterior paint or interior leather colors to different styles and stains for the polished veneers. And don't forget the Starlight roof lining, which uses dozens of fiber optic lights embedded in the roof lining to affect the night sky. Yes, it has flaws, such as some iffy interior plastics and a slightly lumpy ride, but the Ghost is still a majestic car to ride in and drive.